The November 2024 meeting of the Jackson County Library District Board is called to order. And if you would join me in thought, I will read the JCLS Land Acknowledgement Statement. Jackson County Library Services acknowledges that libraries are located within the traditional lands of the Cow Creek Band of Umpqua Tribe of Indians and the Modoc Nation, as well as the Shasta, Takelma, and Lakawa people, whose descendants are now identified as members of the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians and the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde. We take this moment to recognize the indigenous peoples whose traditional lands are where residents of Jackson County live today. JCLS is committed to fostering understanding, deep respect, and honor for indigenous people, and we encourage you to learn more about the land you reside on. For more information, go to jcls.org/land. Okay, and we do not have any proclamations that I'm aware of.
I would, however, like to introduce Yoli Diaz. Hi. Now we're going to get on Diaz, who is our new executive assistant. And so many of you have talked with her and gotten emails from her, but we're excited to have her on board here. And she's managing her first meeting, so be kind.
We'll do our best.
Okay.
Sure.
Hello and welcome. Thank you.
Yes, for sure. Very happy to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Any requests to add to the agenda, to move agenda items? Not a lot on the consent agenda. Those items could be moved off if need be. Okay. So. Launched right into this. Yes, a roll call would be wonderful. Thank you.
Director Brown.
Here.
Director Kiefer.
Here.
Director Keating.
Here.
Director Shepherd.
Here.
And Director Drancy. Okay.
Good work. Okay, thank you. Okay, if I could have a motion to approve the consent agenda, which is meeting minutes and the annual fee waiver.
I move approval. This is Marta, and I'd like to second.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion, questions? Okay. So
Other than, I think Ginny Hours' first name is misspelled in the minutes, but that's the
right,
correction.
right. I did notice that as well. Okay. Have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda, and I'm just repeating this as much for your benefit and it's proper protocol. So, all in favor? Hand raise will do it. There.
I think, yeah, the hand is raised, it's covered by the meeting being recorded banner. You can
Oh,
click on OK to
okay, alrighty. Okay, got it. Very good.
The raised hand always moves to the first of the lined up keys.
To hide the hand. Very good. That's good information to know. So do we have?
Jenny, can you grab, is there anybody on the sign up sheet for public comment? Okay, count. That's the only thing.
Hi all.
And we'll repeat the, you have 3 minutes to speak, and the board will not be acting on or responding to any comments made today.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody for having me here. My name is Cal Bays. I'm both a patron and a staff, and I'm here as a patron today to talk about something new. I want to talk about justice issues. The fair consideration of all people, patrons, users, coupled with fairness, is honesty and truthfulness, and weighing the effects on these specific groups. So we're talking about here procedural justice. And what I'm talking about here are people's voices being heard? And two, corrective justice, remedies, reasonings. Example, we're told something is broken, yet it's never been tested. Is this flawed? In plain words, this room is occupied by an administration team that represents an alliance, perhaps tipping the scale of fairness. Some of us here represent the voices that belong here to be heard. 121 users signing a survey, the City of Medford Planning Department, the Art Association of Medford, people that have come here and testified. Why should we care? We care about the allocation of funds to be spent wisely. We care about the legitimate estimates about what the board actually asked for. We care about this limiting oversight to just operational purview rather than hearing the voices out there. Board ethics says, seek the best outcomes for the districts, its users, and taxpayers. So the board has to ensure plans. And if there's a departure from what is intended, example, the board asks for a repair estimate, but gets something else. So to ensure that the governance is done right, is an estimate cost effective to the desires of the whole community and not just the alliance? Are you up for it? Thank you.
Moving on to reports, the library director's report, Carrie Manning.
I have two special announcements today that I would like to invite Carrie Turney Ross to come forward first because she has an exciting thing to show off.
Yes.
This is unexpected, this is new.
Yes,
Just came in today.
this came in today. Our Rogue Reader, A Baby's First Book. This is the first book to be published by Jackson County Library District. We are publishers now. And I have way more respect for that side of what we do. This is a nearly 3-year-long project to bring this book here today. Once we get all of the rest of the kit ready, we will be sending these books to local birthing centers to give to our newest residents, along with information about library resources, Dolly Parton Imagination Library, and getting them set up to be readers from day one. And I'm actually getting emotional here because this is just a long time coming, and I wanted to be able to show the book off to you all today. And I'll pass this around. But this is in large part thanks to our friends in Ashland, the friends of the library in Ashland, our staff in Ashland who worked so hard on Baby's First Book for so long. The foundation, the Jackson County Library Foundation has played a big role in this. The author is a Central Point patron. The illustrator is a library patron and a local artist. The book was printed by Blackstone Publishing over in Ashland, so it is very much so a local book about our local resources, our local area, and very much so a labor of love. So cool. Yes.
I'm so excited we got to see it.
Yes.
Hot off the press. And so then I would also like to invite Nancy Nightingale to come forward. and Lynn Thurima online, and they are going to talk to you about the children's department and all the things that they do. When I told them to limit it to about 10 minutes, they're like, I'm not sure we can do that, but they're gonna do their best because there's a lot going on. So, yeah. And they have a PowerPoint that always.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Oh, man. Give me a second here. Of course it will happen. It's sending up a check.
Oh.
And I gotta find it. Sorry.
So the computer, of course, rebooted 3 minutes before the meeting.
Of course. It was kind of like my mouse worked fine when I left home this morning by the time I got to town.
It's a corner up there, let me try that.
With the Dolly Parton book that she received is her son's favorite book so far, the black and white one.
Very good.
Found it.
Yep, it looks like it's up there, and so you just see the presentation mode.
And top here.
Yeah, that was right.
Was it this one?
Yep. Let's start from the beginning. Work with magic, there we go.
Thank you. Okay, hi. I'm Nancy. I'm the children's librarian here in Medford. I'm gonna try to do this in a way that is not too fast or too slow. So I am gonna talk a little bit about just like what it is we do in children's, an average week in the life, if you will, of the children's department. And to first start that off, I'd like to introduce the team and what it is we do. So if we go to the next slide, you can see a cute little photo of us. So other than myself, I have 4 children's specialists, Grace, Natalie, Melvie, and Jamie. Not to brag too much, but I do consider ourselves the most important department of the library, just because of who it is we serve. So when a brand new human being enters the world, we're kind of the first boots on the ground to turn them into lifelong readers and get them engaged to become very active members of their communities as they grow. And so part of that is our most popular programming aspect, story time. So we offer 3 different story times a week in Medford. So Mondays is our preschool story time that prepares kids for what the school environment will be like. Tuesdays is our toddlers and wobblers, which is kind of more play-based, but focuses on early literacy. And then Wednesdays is our baby social hour, which is all about teaching early literacy skills to caretakers. And then about once a month on Thursdays, we have toddler aerobics, which is a play-based, just movement program, helps get the wiggles out of our littles. And speaking of programs, it's kind of the bread and butter of what we do in children's. We offer a variety of programs for school-age children, mainly focused after school hours. Some of that includes our weekly Wednesday programs that hits our groups for that early dismissal time, and that theming for that changes with whatever our theming is for each season. So the picture on there to the left, that was for our art refresh. It was a watercolors based program that taught them different watercoloring skills and activities. And then we also have things like Lego Club that we do on Sundays, that encourages kids to work together, get creative, build things. It's very popular. They really like Legos. And then we have other programs that's focused on all ages. The picture to the right is a massively successful bubble dance party that we did. And we're bringing it back for the winter. So it's gonna be pretty exciting. Something else that we do that is a big part of our work is field trips. So we do facilitate schools to visit the library. We work with preschool through 5th grade in the children's department and teaching kids about the library, what services we offer, what resources are available to them. It is also an opportunity for them to get their very first library cards. We give them a tour of the children's department. And then they are free to check out books either for their own pleasure reading or for school assignments. And we help with teachers gather materials for school assignments as well. And so next we're going to talk a little bit about some stories, some impact stories. So on the next slide, what you're going to see is a letter that a child wrote. So this was a recent letter from a child who attended preschool story time that's taught by Grace. She wrote it herself, as you could tell. Dad kind of translated at the bottom for us. But it was her last day of preschool story time before starting kindergarten. And it was a really emotional day for her. She's been there for a couple of years. Her brother started attending the preschool story time. And so she just wanted to really show her thanks to Grace for being her teacher for like 3 years. And it was really special. Additionally, I recently got a story from a regular family who attends, whose children, the dad let us know, have made some big school achievements. Their son got into a gifted program based on literacy, and their daughter recently won an award at school for reading, and he attributed all of that to the library and the efforts that we do here. Connected them to books that ignited their love of reading and, you know, made them into excited about like the library is the place they want to be and to hang out. So I do have a final story, and it's about an adult patron. So we don't just assist children, we do help with adult patrons at a variety of levels. And this one, a caretaker reached out to us about a patron who was more or less illiterate. And we were looking for what we call high-low books, so high interest but low difficulty. And so we got a variety of easy reader nonfiction books, and one of them happened to be a biography on John Lewis. And they called us about a week later to let us know that that patron cried reading the book. Because it was their first time being able to read a book like that on their own, but also to see their own life story kind of reflected in that of another. And so that's kind of the impactful work that we get to do here in the library and within the children's department itself. Thank you. Ta-da!
Good job. And then Lynn's gonna follow up and then we'll take questions.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Lynn Harima. I'm the head of Children's Services here at the Ashland Library. That was great, Nancy. I love those stories. I'm going to share my screen now. Try to. It's, you know, technology. Here we go. Can you see my screen? I hope you can. Okay, cool. Good. Okay, so you already know. What's that?
We cannot see your screen.
You can't see it?
No.
Oh, man, I don't know what to do about that. I'm sorry. I did the share button on Zoom. Let me get out of this. Kristen said she'd come save me if I got into trouble. Let's see if Kristen's gonna come in and
I'm on my way. I'll be ready.
Wait, it
Okay.
says that you started screen saving. There we go. So you just need to start the PowerPoint.
Oh, okay, good. Cool. Now, are we good?
Oh, you need you need to share your other screen. We're seeing your desktop.
Seeing my desktop.
So do you have 2 monitors? Pull your PowerPoint over
to my
to the other monitor.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
There you go.
Sorry about that. Okay,
There you go. Yeah, hit present and we should be good.
Are we good now?
We are, yes. Thank you.
Cool. Yay. You guys, thank you for your patience. Okay. So you already know who I am. I introduced myself. The technology whiz in the children department. Thanks, Kristen. So, yes, before I can talk about anything we do, as Nancy mentioned, we were going to talk about a week in the life of the children's department. I got to introduce my team. I have going from left to right. This is actually a volunteer who's been with us. Her name is Judy from 2017. We have Cody. We have me in the middle, Crystal, Kelly, and then Ellen. Each of these folks brings something to the table and together truly create quality programming for our patrons, and all have connected with children in one way or the other and do a fantastic job. Every week, we also do 3 early literacy programs. We have a story time on Mondays as well, and it is a very popular program, and we try to incorporate music and movement, songs that kids can bring home and learn. So we do the same songs for an entire month, so that they can really learn them and get them down and feel empowered when they come to story time. And afterwards, we have to offer like some kind of activity or craft or just a fun place to play. On Wednesdays, we have babies and wobblers. Ours is combined because it didn't work separating because they came to both anyway. And it is a very popular program. Today, we had 46 people joining us in the morning. We offer it twice a day, once at 11 and once at 2 on Wednesdays. And as you can see from these strollers here, a lot of our folks are walking to the library, which is very cool. We did just talk about maybe expanding to a Tuesday morning to see if we could maybe reduce the amount of people who are coming in the morning on Wednesdays. But we don't know if they're all going to just come on Tuesdays too. So where the team is always reevaluating and thinking, oh, sorry, wait, this is, sorry, don't look at that yet. Listen to this. We do after school programming. Here's a quick example of a recent STEM program. This was our puking pumpkins program. It is basically chemistry, and it is a way to combine different materials and create what most people would call elephant toothpaste. And the kids love it, and it's just a great fun time. We hand them the recipe so that they can do it at home. After the demonstration of this, as you can tell, my team loves it too. We were able to offer, with the generosity of the Ashland Safeway, a pumpkin patch. And every child who attended the program was able to pick out a pumpkin and decorate it here at the library. We used beeswax crayons so that they could still take those pumpkins home and carve them or cook them or do whatever they wanted to do with them. So thank you, Ashland Safeway. And the creativity of the team does not end there. We do put a lot of effort into displays. This is one that we just recently did, obviously for Halloween, that showcased some of our spookier junior fiction. Here's some more fun stuff. We really leaned heavily into the Halloween season, and Nancy shared some fun little stories at the end. I'm just going to share them in between. We had people actually coming to the children's department because they had heard how cool the department looked for Halloween. We had people who were coming to OSF towards the end of the season, and they had heard a rumor that we had really made the department fun. And then one Sunday, a father and his 2 kids came in and said, "We're looking for Halloween." And I said, "Well, it's here." And the kids were like, "Ooh, ah." And the father said, "Well, you did not disappoint." Other things that we do are clever little things around the department. Our department's a little smaller than Medford, so we can do some of these smaller kind of, Medford could probably do it too, actually. But this is a very simple program that we put together. It was just a bushel basket full of leaves. Kids could throw them up in the air and they could rake them. And it just goes to show you that just because it's simple doesn't mean that it can't be fun. Let's see, what other things? Sorry, I got lost in my notes. Here we go. We strive to create a kid-friendly environment. We have an activity table. We change out the different table toys every month. And we choose things that inspire children to use their imagination and encourage cooperative play. And this is just an example of some. In this one picture down here, some of these toys were in other places in the library and they migrated over to the table. So you just never know what kids are going to do when they come into the department, and we are open to all of it. We have weekend activities that we've been trying to promote. We have sensory activities. The one you can see here is a gigantic sunflower head. Kids could use tweezers to pull out the seeds and drop them into the little cups, and or they could even try the seeds. We had books displayed that talked about seeds and how they grow. Then we had another weekend where kids could create their own spider webs and spiders. So we try to do something every weekend, whether it's a sensory activity, Legos, board games, or a patron-driven art project. All of this encourages a busy and well-loved children's department. We also, on occasion, have opportunities for community collaboration. Over here on the left, you can see this is the Y. They will make special field trips and sometimes even attend our programs. I've been working with the Rotary Club since 2015 on a program called Ashland Reads. We had our first meeting a couple of weeks ago, and the whole point of the Ashland Reads program is to get a brand new book in the hands of every first grader. The fun thing about it is that the first graders get to choose the book. So we narrow it down to 5. The first grade teachers read the book in the classroom, and kids vote on the book they think that they like best. And then they can choose that book for themselves. It ends up in a backpack that they get during this Ashland Reads program. We also just recently worked with PBS. We did a screening of a new children's series they have coming out, and that was just such a great partnership that we enjoyed working with each other so much that we're hoping in the spring we can offer some programs with them as well. So there are so many things I could share with you about the children's department, but of course we have 5 minutes. So I offer you all an invitation to come visit either mine or Nancy's departments. Check out for yourselves all the cool things we do. And I leave it open to any questions or comments. And if you have none,
That's like the most fun, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. No, okay. Then I invite you all to come and see what we do at the library.
Thank you so much for your presentations. Ashland Library hosted the meeting last week or 2 weeks ago between the Foundation Board and this library board, and so we had a chance to pop in and peek at the various rooms, the activities, the decorations, and the fall themed. Everything was absolutely gorgeous, and thank you for everything you do. For comic relief's sake, I think it was great to have kids practicing how to rake up leaves before the storm that hit us in the last 24 hours. Also, I was wondering who Carl the Collector was, because that was written in very large letters on the whiteboard in the room where we met for the foundation board. And after reading the district-wide report that was provided for the board's review, I now know who Carl the Collector is. And if you don't, look it up. That's it. Thank you so much.
And that's the partnership with SOPBS that we just have really started engaging in, so, yeah.
So thanks for that, Nancy and Lynn. 2 things that really stood out was the adult literacy piece and the story times. And so my 2 questions are, do we have a program already in place for people who need that service, or is it always go kind of through children's or what? And then I've got one more of that.
So when you, just as a clarifying question, in return, when you say a program, are you referencing to adults in need of?
To serve the exact same purpose of that gentleman that came in.
At the moment, there isn't necessarily, but usually questions that do pop up like that do get sent to children's. If they usually call either adult services or something sometimes, and it's clear that the need might be more towards them needing books that may be on an easier level meant for children or for youth in some way, then that reference need does get kind of offered up to us so that we can address it.
Gotcha. And then story times, I noticed they went K through 5th. parade on story times?
So the story times are for like 0 to like 5 years old.
Oh, okay, 0 to 5, okay.
Yeah.
Is there one for middle schoolers? Cause,
Um,
boosting up on the end.
Yeah,
I
so
love
that's
story time.
kind of what at least in Medford, our Wednesday programs kind of do that. So we do read a book first that's related to a certain theme, and then they do a related craft to whatever the book's theming was. So in a way, it does kind of function. I'm looking at doing a STEAM story time for the spring. That's aimed at older kids as well. So we're kind of mixing it up a little. It's gotta be a little more hands-on for those older kids, just because if they're not as interested in doing finger plays
Yeah,
and.
I was thinking more
So
about
they-
book talks.
They
is
kind of
what I was-
prefer more programs than
Yeah.
something called story time, like, you graduate from story time.
To book talks, is kind of what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah, so
like
there's
that.
more programming, we don't necessarily call that story time, but
Gotcha.
we do have specific programming for the older grades.
Good.
And Lynn, I got to tour the children's department in the whole Ashland Library last week when we were there, and it's cool that it's in the historic part of the building, and.
Yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't there that day, so I missed you, but I would have anytime come in and we would love to just like visit and tell you all about what we do.
Thank you both. I agree. I think kids department is the most fun for sure, children's department.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
So I have a couple other late breaking news items for this week, and in many ways, I'm surprised it's only Wednesday, because so much has already happened. So this week, yesterday, the book locker has been delivered to the Ashland YMCA, and it has been installed. It is a plain white box right now, and it will be wrapped by the end of this week. So it'll have our logo and wrap on it, and then I know I'm announcing it here, but it's a soft launch. We gotta make sure it all is gonna work before we start advertising, but we do have postcards that we're planning to send out in the Ashland community, as well as flyers that we will have already at the YMCA, so that when people go to the Y and say, what's that box out there? They have that information and can share that with their clients. So that's very exciting to see that project moving forward, and we kept telling you it'd be installed by the end of the calendar year, and here we go. Another event this week is the Medford Jackson County Chamber of Commerce Leadership Group is I like to call it a class, I guess. They have an annual 9-month class that chamber members can go through as they're interested in learning more about the community and perhaps advancing as leaders within the community. And they, over the course of 9 months, go to different businesses and locations. And this year for their nonprofit month, which was yesterday, they were here at the Medford Library, and myself and Jenny and Rosalind Donald, our business librarian, each had some time, about half an hour, to tell them about the library, our services, our strategic goals, and also the resources and services here that they might be interested in taking advantage of. And then Spencer and Kayla from our adult services department gave them a tour of the branch library. So that was a special thing that Rosalind, I know, has been working with the chamber to say, hey, come tour the library when you're in the leadership class. So that was a well-received presentation. There were 29 people in that class, so that was a good presentation. And then between last week and this week, we're starting to hear who got accepted for OLA conference proposal presentations. And our HR specialist, Lauren Pupney from HR, has a program accepted to talk about HR in libraries, because we recognize that there are a lot of smaller libraries around the state that don't have their own HR department, or they may be a department of the city or county. So having library-specific human resources that they can talk to is one area. And then I submitted a proposal on our library advocacy toolkit and building library champions, and that was accepted. I just found out like an hour ago, so, and we may have a couple more. They seem to be trickling in this week as they sort through all of their proposals to select which ones are at the conference. And so that's also a reminder to you all that the conference is in April in Eugene, and we'll make sure that we get those dates out to you so you can save the date and hopefully be able to attend that conference this year. And finally, I would just like to say I was at the Talent Library this morning for the Friends Presidents Forum, and I almost forgot to look down, but was able to see in person all of their new flooring. So their front entryway looks very nice, matching the colors with the carpeting. And I even went in the restroom just to check out the tile in the restroom. So all of their flooring is new there, and very exciting to see that. And it's got that new carpet smell too. So are there any questions about anything that were presented or in the report today?
I didn't have any questions. I commented to you directly about it, but a listing of all of the presentations you've done in the community was really great to see. And we are out there interacting with a lot of other people and organizations, but it's nice to see it here. Thank you.
What's the title on this particular?
Oh man, did they not all come out right?
I got it.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah.
That's the second goal area, yeah. So it's the 4 goal areas in the strategic plan. So goal 1, to enhance our collections and resources. Second page would be the enhance access to library services. Third goal area to enhance community involvement, and the fourth, the commercial staff infrastructure. I apologize. Sometimes going from the page to the printer, you lose your
labels
memory.
are missing.
Yeah, can you remind me just what are the dates on this?
So our
Also, is it
strategic
2
plan
years?
is a 5-year strategic
This is
plan,
the 5-year. plan, right?
2022 to 2026.
Thank you.
And this is a part of your report.
Yes.
So if I have questions on this.
Yes.
Okay, this is the time. Okay. I'll ask the questions real quick, or
Well,
do you want to go ahead?
to follow up on this, sort of the labels missing on this, at the end, there's 2 committee reports, but they're not labeled as to which committee or what date or.
Right.
Yeah, it looks like the headers all
Gotcha.
somehow didn't, they didn't.
Yeah, going, what is this? So
Yeah.
it's not
It's
just
on the
that.
list.
Yeah, once you, I kind of read the content, get there.
This is the
I assumed that was,
be kind to Yoli part of things.
Yeah.
Right.
I get it.
we'll be kind to her, but
Yeah.
And I
To point
feel
out
like I
things
reviewed
that
all of
need
these
to
too,
change.
and I'm like, why did I not notice this? So apologies.
There was only one committee meeting where I was the note taker, so I had an unfair advantage to decide.
So actually on page, well, numbered page 16, which is the first page of this, that part of the report, on the comments on the diversify and increase programming and events. Says the conducted a staff survey, and JCLS will move away from theme-based programming to literacy-based programs.
What does that mean?
Yes, what does that mean? That's
So
the
right now we have, in our fall and spring programming, we announce a theme that the programs would be related to. So last spring, for example, was Full Steam Ahead. This past fall, or this fall that we're in right now, the theme was Find the Magic. And so we're moving away from tying programming together through a theme like that to being more strategic about a program that is focused on building print literacy skills, or a program that is focused on building science literacy skills or financial literacy skills. So more focused on the literacy aspect and making sure that what we're providing is building capacity for reading and comprehension, not just having a fun program. And believe me, almost anything fun is building literacy, but that's what that means. And the thing was, we had times when people came up with a great idea and we're like, great, how does that fit this theme? And so then they were trying to fit a program into a theme box, and it wasn't always working. We will still continue with our Rogue Reads program to have an overarching, way to tie that together, and then our summer reading program will continue to have a summer reading thing, but really moving more towards are people, are we helping, particularly like the family and parents to, what are we teaching your children, and how can you take some tips home with you to continue to enhance their literacy? Keep looking at Carrie like,
I mean, I kind of wonder, does that make marketing of things a little bit more difficult? Seems like
well,
the
because we
themes are
haven't
always
done
kind of
right, so with the spring and fall, we are only doing the 2 event guides annually with the road reads and summer reading, and so the other themes, and we will still have, we're all in the flux state of this, right? So the first time we'll be able to answer those questions is next spring, but we will still, I anticipate having like system-wide programs that we'll be able to market together and things like that.
read this yesterday, so I have to refresh my mind. So the lectures, and that's on page 18, the first one related to DART. So the series of lectures, is the series of lectures related to DART or?
No.
Okay, so it's just library
Correct.
related stuff.
Yeah, so we're planning, I think, a 4-part lecture series on different aspects of the library that would be held on 4 different dates during the spring holiday term.
Keep going. I only have one more.
It's okay.
I'm not sure what my question was there, so go ahead. Well, I started.
The story about the adult needed literacy support. I'm just wondering if, and Kevin sort of asked about it, but it seems to me that we ought to, I know that years ago, there was a committee countywide that was supposed to work on adult literacy. And that fell apart.
I think there was like 2 active people on that adult literacy
we used
coalition, and
we tried to get the foundation going with that. I think it was, anyway, meetings that I've been to over the years, we kept waiting for somebody to get that pulled together, and it never happened, and it doesn't sound to me like it's going to anytime soon. So I was just, and since literacy is one of the things we're supposed to be supporting in our strategic plan, it seems to me, I would like to encourage us to look for ways that we could work on adult literacy that, in a way that will produce more stories like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
I just think there's gotta be a need out there that we don't really see.
Right, I think there is a need out there that we're not really, that we don't have the capacity right now to tackle that, but it is something that as we look further down that roadmap, it is definitely on our radar. And the answer for right now is that it didn't rise to the top in our current strategic plan as a priority area. And we've had conversations off and on over the years too with RCC and their adult-based education center, as that is right now the primary resource that I'm aware of in Jackson County for adult literacy support is through their ADE office. And so yes, there is an awareness that there is a need for more adult literacy support in Jackson County. We have not yet identified how we might be able to help address those needs.
Does anybody try to find out what the level of need is? I mean, does the county care at all about any of this, or?
Again, I would say that right now that the RCC ADE is the most likely to have that information to be able to build upon.
mean, because it seems like before you start programming, knowing more about what
Correct, yeah, and
the
that's,
scope of the problem would be
correct,
a heck of a start.
correct. And I know one of the, secondary audiences, if you will, for, adult literacy is, native Spanish speakers who are illiterate in Spanish. Then trying to help get them literate in English is a two-step process. And so, there has been some conversation around that as well. And so, you know, it is an onion and peeling back what all the issues are and then determining the best place to start to, build a program that would support those needs is all part of that long-range path.
I think it's a worthy goal to keep us going on. I mean, I've been watching it sort of bob around the edges for a long time, and I'm waiting for it to sort of bob more toward the middle or something. Anyway. Thank you.
Marissa, any questions, comments?
I mean, no real comments. I mean, I do have some of the same concerns about literacy. It would be nice to just have like actual numbers to kind of track this over time as well, just for all our collective memory record. I still have my same concerns about the Spanish speaking position. I just think that, you know, the bilingual aspect needs to be emphasized as well, and that's all I'll say about that. Otherwise, you know, a lot of great work being done and, you know, a lot of great programming, of course. So thank you all for your hard work.
Thanks, Marissa. And we do have that Spanish language service, what's it called? Spanish Services Coordinator position has been filled and that person will start in December and they are a bicultural, bilingual person. So excited to be able to work with them and see where we go.
Yeah, that sounds great. As long as they understand the bicultural aspect, I think that's really important in the community, and that's kind of been missing.
Yep, absolutely. A lot going on, y'all.
Yes.
All right, you want to come in here, please?
So in the packet, I don't know if you want to pull it up on screen or not, but there are the first quarter financials. Your review. I feel pretty excited about it because this is a lot of work getting our system caught up and cleaned up to a way that we were able to feel pretty comfortable that a lot of these are up to date and we should be able to continue that going forward on a monthly basis. So we're doing some fine tuning, some of it just for classifying between expense categories. We're finding little things where charge didn't get coded into the right category. Not a lot though. And then there will be one minor change. We didn't have time to do the interest income allocation between the funds, across the funds. So it's all sitting in the general fund right now, but going forward, that will be split accordingly. So overall, for Q1, a few things that look weird, I guess, would be the income revenue. We get all of our funds this month.
Real soon. They've already started coming in. It's great.
Don't panic. It actually overall looks pretty good in all the other categories. Prior year property taxes have been coming in a lot steadier than anticipated. They've been collecting better than we thought, so we should be fine. And then we did just get our allocation amount, and we were within $40,000 of the budgeted or forecasted amount that we anticipated. So
That's pretty good.
again, yeah. And then that will depend on collection rates and everything as well, but felt pretty good about that. Let's see, there weren't a lot of things to call out. Overall expenses combined were at 20% of budget. So at end of Q1, that's pretty good. 25 would be just fine, but 20 gives us plenty of room. Excuse me. And in the notes here, the personnel costs were at 23% of budget. So again, under, it gives us a little bit of room. Library materials, 24% of budget. Again, right where we should be. Utilities came in a little high at 29%, but we're coming off the summer. Yeah, hot summer. Hot summer. Sorry, the fall. So this quarter should bring us kind of back in line, then it'll bump up again and we'll go back in. So you'll know how that works. Capital improvement fund, there hasn't been much activity there yet. It's just the Medford, the large conference room downstairs. There's been just a few bills that have come in for that. And grants, again, that there hasn't been a lot of activity in Q1 there. So not much to, but again, it's anticipated.
So just quick individuals on this. Just like elections, we paid 45,000 for what there.
To get you elected.
What do we pay?
So we pay for our portion of the, what's on the ballot. So
To the
they-
county clerk, I guess?
To the county clerk, and it's based on, that number is based on previous years, what we actually paid, but it's somehow magically formulated on their end and divided by the number of issues that are on the ballot and how much each, local jurisdiction would pay up the whole cost of the ballot.
So we'll pay that in roughly May or something, or April?
I believe we pay it after the election. I could be wrong though, but yeah, May or June.
Typically with jurisdictions, it's reimbursement based, because by then they will know just how many human hours they may have spent on it, if I understand correctly.
Good, thanks. Postage, is that something, I mean, we're doing great on postage, right? Are we looking at a big mailer?
We were just looking into this actually because I think there's some classification between this one and services because we may have budgeted for, there's a company that we use that sends out our notifications for the notices and such. So we feel like that may have went into services. So there may be a little bit of change in there, but otherwise if we're a little under budget.
We're doing great on maintenance and repair, looks like.
Yeah, that one I feel like we budget pretty well. We kind of have our contracts set for the year. Maintenance.
6032. Fifth from the bottom.
Yeah, building maintenance, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's combined, so, yeah. So that includes anything that would be the capital improvement as well.
Okay, great.
How's the audit going?
They were here last week. So everything so far has been good. They just have follow-up questions like every day, you know, there's 5 new questions that we've been able to get everything. And they feel like they should be able to issue, she said, before the end of the year. She felt confident in that, but I, you know, that's until we get down to next month. We'll see how they
Right, so when I talked with, our senior accountant, she said that they thought they'd have all of the work done and everything done, but that the review by the, management, she wasn't as sure that could be completed, but so we should be able, we may be on track to file by December 31st, but we may not be able to present to the board until near January meeting.
That's good. Yeah, I felt good about it. When they left, I felt good. There wasn't any sticky points or anything, so.
And by our meeting next month, we'll be able to tell you whether we have to file that extension for an extra month or not, so, yeah.
Any other questions?
Any questions, Marissa?
I mean, no real questions, just again, just kind of overall concerns for the long-term budget. And it'd be nice to see like, you know, ways that we could save money and think about being wise, but you know, overall we're on track, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Jean?
Hi, everybody. Long time no see, some of you.
Hours.
Hours, yeah. And some of you just days. So, hi, lots going on at the foundation. Want to tell you that we have solidified a date
for an event for Dolly Parton Imagination Library. We're gonna be at the Rogue Valley Country Club on March 4th at noon. It's a 1-hour event. And lunch will be served, but it is a fundraiser. There's no cost to attend. We do ask for RSVPs for anyone in the public who's listening, so we know who's coming. And I hope that you all will, of course, attend and maybe even consider being table captains for us, and we'll get you more information on that coming up. We just did find out that the cost for for a year's worth of books is going to go up this year. So it'll be important for us to keep our fundraising on point. Other news, thank you, Susan, thank you, Marta, for joining us this past week. We had some tours of our Phoenix location. I'll pass out our brochures for those of you who might want a copy or two to take and share with others and look at yourself. We had approximately, I think about 25 people over the course of the 2.5 days come to visit the library and learn about the garden that's going in and the beehive, the demonstration beehive that's going to go in. And so I think there's some real enthusiasm starting to happen around that. I know the Rotary is excited in Phoenix, as well as several others who've reached out to me to let me know that they're interested in participating, and I look forward to hearing more from all of you, because I know you also had some ideas. We don't have them off the press yet. These are just copies right now, but we have new brochures for the foundation. Happy to pass those around so you can see them as well. So we're getting started on some more community engagement at the foundation level. Our board members are very engaged, very enthusiastic. I'm so excited about the batch of board members we had. We met them on the 6th, and they are enthusiastic. Even last night at the meeting, they were like, we should meet quarterly. So with the two boards, they were so thrilled with the experience on the 6th. So look for them to be knocking on your door. And I know that Yoli and Beverly will be getting a notice out to you all so that we can figure out a more social opportunity for the two boards to get together and engage in that way. I think that's all I have at the moment. I have Giving Tuesdays coming up on December 3rd. Letters have gone out. I am sitting here squirming because there's a stack in my office right now. So that's exciting that people are receiving that and getting engaged and interested in supporting our local libraries. Stack of letters that people have sent back. Donations. Probably with donations in them. So it's that time of year when people's hearts are inclined to be generous, and we appreciate it. Oh, and Carrie has with her some business cards with the QR code in both Spanish and in English. Our wonderful marketing department at JCLS put those together, and she has copies of those. If you would like any, please hand them out. I think I told you all recently, we have almost 4,200 registered kids now. We've already graduated nearly 1,000, more than 1,000. Yeah, so we're excited about that, and we hope to get up to 8,000 this year and keep going. So thank you for your support.
I wanted to recognize the team that led on the Phoenix Library tour. We had the landscape architect there, and Kristen and Crystal were also available to answer any and all questions. Earlier today, in a different role, I met with a local philanthropy representative, and they would love to know more. And I'll reach out to you for a PDF of this, and then you'll manage that relationship.
Absolutely.
But people are getting really excited about it, and they knew that something's happening, but they didn't know about the beehive. So thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. And I also want to add Jody Fleming at the other two listening tours was available for the questions. So Kristen filled in for Jody on the one you attended, Marta.
Oh,
So
gotcha.
you did not meet Jody, but
Not yet.
also a huge part of it. So.
Is there any, I'm thinking there were maybe two counties that didn't have Dolly Parton in place yet.
Zip codes, yeah. So there were 3 zip codes in We believe that we are ever so close to being, given an announcement about that. I would anticipate something in January.
Some kid up there.
Well, I think that what they need is like
An affiliate.
Rotary- Yeah, they need the affiliate
Infrastructure.
right, yeah, right. Someone who's gonna help pay for it.
Help these guys.
They're engaging with them and finding a partner. I know they're very good, the folks at the state level. So we'll have an announcement soon, I believe.
Cool.
Thank you.
You had such cooperative weather for your tour days.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
Not.
A little bit dicey on Tuesday, yesterday, yes.
Saturday wasn't too bad. It was chilly, but it was all right.
You got it in before the Arctic River, what else do you want?
Okay, so on to unfinished business. And that for water feature, there is a memo.
Page 28.
Page 28 in the packet. And I guess I can kind of recap this certainly the board members have all seen this. The facilities committee did meet and reviewed the estimate that was received from Neptune, let's see, Pond and something. Anyway, a professional that came in and did actually examine and look at all of the related parts to the water feature and did provide an estimate of the cost to restore it to working order, at least to the best of their ability to determine that, and also provided an estimate to remove. And it was, well, there's a lot more information in here, but just to kind of gather it to the kind of end of the important information that is coming forward with this. The recommendation, the consensus of the committee, and I'm not going to say that this was consensus meant absolute agreement by every person that was participating in the committee meeting, was to remove the water portion of the water feature and hopefully repurpose it, take the safety and security concerns into consideration in repurposing at least a portion of that public art installation to something, to another type of public art that would be consistent with the theme, but would not involve running water and the maintenance associated with that. So I think that kind of captures where, in terms of the report. And there also was an estimate of the ongoing maintenance. And I don't know, I mean, is it important? Should I read the numbers out loud? Okay. That there would be an ongoing maintenance cost of about $1,000 a month on an ongoing basis. If there was that restoration.
That seems incredibly high to maintain it, but anyway.
Okay, Marissa. Looking in the right corner.
Yeah, I had some questions, particularly starting with the security concerns. I mean, I understand the concerns, but we're paying $300,000 for security, and that's why I keep asking for incident report data, because it would be nice to know, what the effect of security we've been paying has, and why security can't deal with this, apparent blind spot, or why can't we put in a camera, or why is there not a solution to this security issue? And then I was also surprised that we only got one quote, especially if it came in so high at around 50. I still think it's worth the cost to the community. Again, we can present it as a fundraising opportunity. But it would be nice to have 3 quotes to compare to get a better idea.
I think, I think Crystal could probably answer the quote question. I mean, I can at least give a little bit of insight on the security side. I mean, the library is here 24 hours a day, and security after hours, is provided by Medford Police, not that they're policing the library specifically, but driving by the facility when there have been reports of activities, illegal or problematic activities going on in and on the grounds of the library, including in front of the building. So the ability for a police officer to be able to drive by the building and have clear sight lines to what is happening around the outside of the building is part of the reason some of the modifications in landscaping took place to remove hiding places. Again, when people are driving through the parking lot to observe after hours, I don't think this is so much of a major concern during the times that security are here during open hours, although that's kind of my sense of it. I don't know about that, but Crystal, do you
Well, I
want
want to address I mean, we didn't receive multiple quotes because this was get us started so that we could have direction from the board on how to move forward. So we did not receive multiple quotes because it was give us a ballpark, give us something that we can use to determine what our next step is. And yes, I mean, at this price point, were we to be directed to restore the fountain, we would have to go out to bid.
It was also my impression finding somebody qualified and willing to provide a bid was a challenge. So that was part of the reason, since not wanting to spend money to get a quote, especially to multiple people. And since there did not appear, at least from what I was understanding from Crystal, there were not a lot of options. So I don't know if that answers that question, but
Were they asked to actually estimate the cost of replacing, as it says here in the
Yes.
memory, or were they asked to repair it?
We asked them to quote the cost to repair and to replace and to remove.
Okay, it doesn't say repair in here, that's what I'm saying. It says replace.
no.
So,
Should say
and that's,
repair and replace.
Restorative
things.
functioning, I think, was the.
Yes.
and that's in fact what they were asked.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
You read the draft, Kevin, why didn't you catch it then?
Well, that's what it's never too late till you vote.
Repair is the word there. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for the recommendation. I was part of the board's vote in favor of getting an estimate such as this one. This meets the wishes that I had to have information handy, because these discussions were originally held before I had a chance to join the board. So for me, this recommendation is satisfactory. It compares the figures. Additionally, the estimate to replace / restore, if you think about it in terms of a part-time equivalent or a full-time equivalent position, I must admit I was perhaps naive in hoping there would be a fix that would be even more magical than just cost efficient. It is an issue, while I'm not an engineer, that could be tied back to deferred maintenance, because something that should have been maintained, we could at some point stop receiving the needed maintenance. But this memo meets all of my needs for additional information I was wishing for at that time. Thank you. And thank you to Carrie May for reaching back out to the Medford Art Commission.
I'll make a motion.
Who was the board member? Who were the board members representing the board facilities committee?
Kevin,
Do you have any additional comment? You presented on it. Do you have it?
We spoke at length.
Okay.
No, it's, my comment was a preference, really. I preferred to repair it. Secondly, if the board was against that, then we talked about the compromise solution of keeping most of the structure there, saving some money on that, and then putting an art installation that would kind of meet the needs and just without the water. And then the third option would be just doing nothing with, no harm, no foul, no cost.
Yeah, I guess I'm confused. What's the biggest barrier against the fountain? Is it the cost or security?
I'm interpreting it as both. The figure that came in for the estimate is almost a 2x of, like the replacement / restore is almost 2x removal or partial removal. Plus there's the ongoing maintenance.
Yeah, I
Security,
mean,
it sounds like we've had years of observation since the installation on how it actually works out in the space that it is.
I mean, personally, I just don't feel like I have enough data to make an informed decision. Like, it'd be nice, because I didn't get a detailed breakdown of how they added up to 50,000 or whatever. That would be nice to kind of see as well. And again, with the security, we don't have the data, so I can't say anything about security. So that's why I keep asking for that data, because I can't make informed decisions.
I don't think our incident reports are specifically related to the water feature. I don't even know that we have data that would give you that information. Yeah, it's.
Well, I'm not asking for that. I'm asking for the general security. That's what I keep asking for. What's the general trend? That would be nice to know. That's why I keep asking.
So back to the water feature, because I was one of the folks who wanted the estimate, now that the figures came back. I'm just gonna read straight from the memo, because I don't have it memorized. I'd like to make a motion to approve the recommendation from the facilities committee that the library remove the water component of art installation and repurpose elements of the current installation in keeping with the original intent of the public art installation while eliminating safety and security concerns along with ongoing maintenance of the water element. That's basically the language in the memo.
I would second the motion.
And now the motion is up for discussion.
Right.
Do you have any sense for how we're likely to proceed on the art piece of this?
So I have a meeting scheduled with the architect who did the installation to talk about ways that may be repurposed and reframed. And he was actually the one who suggested that to me when I reached out to him a couple months ago. And he said, he said that in another place where they're working on an installation and making changes to it, he said, for example, they took out the water feature and put in some salmon running upstream. I was like, that would actually even work in our community because it's a similar, we do have the Bear Creek with the salmon. I had a dream that we went with rainbow trout because then you have which are in the area too. So I was like, but anyway, I do have that meeting scheduled with him to be able to start envisioning what that would look like and what that would entail.
And also adding some lighting as part of that.
Yes.
Well, it sounds like there is lighting, but it just is off.
Well, and I think it would be lighting that would probably be developed more appropriate to feature, whatever is there, and also work.
Can we turn the power on the lighting alone?
These are getting into the weeds kinds of questions that I don't know are germane to being able to, make a decision today.
Germane to the security, though, it's, doesn't seem like a difficult question. Is it possible to turn the power on?
I don't have the answer to that question in front of me, Kevin.
Okay.
And I think what we discussed at the committee meeting was that depending on what the next step was, would determine how we would, fix the lighting in that area. So it wasn't really, we discussed.
Well, verbatim in the memo, it says, the lighting in that section does not work because the power to the water feature has been turned off, creating additional safety concerns. Correct. I'm interpreting it as this is fixable when it comes to lighting.
And what I'm saying is how we would fix it is determined on what solution, we're moving forward with.
The professionals who know which wire to connect to which one.
Correct. Yes. Without hitting one.
Hopeful, yes. That would raise our insurance rates.
Well, and again, with a lot more modern options available, like, lighting that highlighted whatever was a new thing would probably make more sense than reconnecting something that was behind the water feature, so. Also in weeds. Any other questions, discussion? We have a motion and a second to approve and follow through with the recommendation from the facilities committee to remove the water component of, I don't know if I need to repeat it. Basically, the language is in the recommendation for this memo, so I guess from there. Would like to raise your hand, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Three in favor, two opposed. The motion passes. Okay. Radical jump on new business. It was.
I do want to do a time check. We are at 5:20.
Okay, right.
And hopefully the rest will go more quickly. I think it's not as much, but if anybody does need a break or anything, now would probably be a logical time for that.
Oh, I thought you were giving us permission to take a break.
I was.
Right.
So like,
I think that's fine.
5 minutes, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Would this be the time for questions relative to your goals or, okay.
It's easier to handle goals than evaluation.
Okay.
Well, I would like to have some additional, I mean, the goals are fine, but I would like to see something in writing about what success in pursuing these goals would look like. There's nothing very measurable about any of this. It's sort of a, well, maybe. I'm sure she worked hard on it, but I generally think when we set goals, we ought to have some way of determining where we are on whether we met them or not. And I think that's pretty hard based on what we have here. And I think when we got to the evaluation part, we would want to have had more about what success looks like.
I mean, I think I can comment from kind of my perspective. Martha and I are the two people on the personnel committee currently, so we have seen these and had the opportunity to provide feedback. I mean, I think part of the challenge with goals is looking for an outcome that's larger than having accomplished what is being suggested that Carrie will accomplish. I mean, the first one, if the expectation is that she will present in front of the community audience with a vision for the library's future, giving one of those presentations each quarter, that's pretty measurable. Did she do that or did she not do that? Whether that has any influence on, you know, what's happening with advancing the facilities master plan, we would assume that it would, or she wouldn't be doing the presentations. And developing an action plan, either there's going to be a plan or there's not going to be a plan. So if there is a plan and it appears to be appropriate for what the plan is supposed to be addressing, having that plan completed and available and ready for use would seem like that would indicate that she has achieved that goal. And I think as far as the budget process, I think there was certainly an attempt to be specific about what areas, the presentation of the budget, what areas there would be more specific information provided. So if the information appears to be there and it's clear and it's more timely, those do seem to be measurable pieces as well. So.
Maybe I'd like to, after the budget process, to develop budget for the current fiscal year, I think some of us were feeling as though we didn't have enough information beforehand. The committee meets, we have a work session where we sort of talk about the budget process, but we can't really talk about our budget. And then we have a meeting where we present the budget. And then we don't really have any other time that's scheduled unless we invoke the second meeting, which we have never done yet.
Is there some way you would like to revise how this goal is presented to address your concerns?
I didn't write an alternative. I've had a couple of conversations with you and about trying. I would like the committee to be, the whole committee, including the citizen members, to have an opportunity to see what the draft budget is and think about it before they have to make a recommendation, which has been at the same meeting in the past. And I would like to see that stretched out a little bit. And I think I got feedback from other members of the committee, not even just board members, that it was, we don't have a chance to react very much to the proposal or to think about the proposal very much before we have to make a decision. And I would like to see something like that built into our process.
So I tried to address that by saying information will be presented in a timely manner to allow the budget committee and the board to understand the budget.
Okay, well, that's pretty broad, but as long as you understand.
Yes, I mean,
What I'm looking
I was
for.
trying to respond to the concerns that were brought up in the budget process this year. And I don't know, aside from having a better process this year, I don't know how better to articulate in a goal format what that would look like without writing a separate novel.
Well, I mean, I think the process is in place, that a second meeting is an option.
Yeah, it's an option.
So, I mean, it's
Clearly
Not
optional,
ever
but
used it,
never, again, yeah, never used it.
but I think we ought, I mean, and we typically, when we're looking for people for the budget committee, my,
Can we stick to the goals, please? And like, I feel like we're getting in the weeds here. I don't think we're.
Stick with the goals.
Okay, fine.
I'll just,
You don't have to stop.
I'm not.
Vicky?
Yes.
Is there a question there?
I was just looking, it's hard to keep track of what they're, okay. But
So what's the process that these goals were created? So did we task Carrie with coming up with them and then
Yes.
presenting them to you guys?
yes,
What kind of feedback was provided by you guys?
well, from me personally was adding a little more specificity in terms of creating more measurability. And I would say that was the primary feedback I gave. Other than that, I agree they all seemed appropriate to the needs currently. And Mark,
Did you have anything?
Yes, I looked at my email in which I phrased the feedback that I had when it comes to the outreach, which is the first
Mhm.
sub-point. Just another reference and a possible reword of the collaborating with the advocacy committee on scheduled and no engagement opportunities. And the second piece of feedback was about the bond measure and getting that lined up. So really, my feedback was about wording. To me, all the 3 points made sense. When we look at this as individual goals for a professional,
Mhm.
to me, the way they were laid out, they made sense. I looked at it through the lens of, are they SMART goals? That is,
Specific measurable.
specific, measurable, yes, and timely, of course. We have a time frame. We know whether or not they have been met. We will know whether or not the deliverables have been met by the end of the year. So to me, they passed the SMART goal test without being too specific, because the timeframe was already defined for us, 2025. But that's also what drove my 2-point feedback to you.
In the past, isn't it, we ever like decided first what we would like to see and then?
Not recently, anyway. I think in the past, the board has had more input on perhaps what the goals, at least contributing to what the goals should be, but that hasn't been true for a while.
Number one, I mean, the increase in community engagement it's not measurable as far as I can tell, unless we have some kind of mechanism for measuring engagement. Certainly you could say that someone attended meetings or met with people, but I don't see the benefit necessarily of that as being one of the major goals for the year. And this is the first time I've seen it. So, I don't, does it make sense to think about it? Do we have to decide this tonight?
Yeah. Oh, can I just chime in? Because I have like similar concerns of like, yes, it's like it's met or it's not met. So it seems like a very low bar. And it's also like there's not a lot of room for like growth or progression or, it's just like it is or it isn't. And I think that was something I expressed the last time, that it'd be nice to have like long-term metrics that we could tie, just to the overall performance. Like, it could be anything from circulation, literacy, program attendance, but just more of a holistic look.
well, and I mean, I could certainly comment that past and probably for people that have been on the board for a little bit. I mean, there certainly have been goals in the past that have been tied to metrics like circulation. And I think there were people that had concerns that, I mean, that is, as with all the director's goals, I mean, there are a lot of people that are involved in accomplishing increasing circulation. So, I mean, I think part of this was Carrie's effort to focus on things because of those comments that that are more specifically being performed in her realm rather than her influence across the whole system of people who are working to accomplish some of those larger goals like increasing circulation. And I think it's, I mean, I think on the first goal, since moving in, I mean, the joint meeting that the board had last week with the foundation board, where there was more discussion about moving into the next phase of the facilities master plan. I mean, that this is a key element of that work. So,
Given the way this discussion is going, I'd like to ask that we schedule an executive session to discuss this further, because I feel like we're getting into the more the performance management side of things rather than the mutually agreed upon goals. So I think we need some time to be able to discuss further to come to that mutual agreement.
I'm supportive of that.
That would be a separate meeting.
Yeah, that sounds fine.
so can we deal with the contract side of it? Okay. So the recommendation to engage, one, we have determined that we have agreed to use a consultant to assist us with the process of performing the library director's evaluation. And the person that the personnel committee is advancing this recommendation from is the same professional person that we used last year. And I believe she commented on the quote being a little bit higher, partly for several reasons. One, she has a clearer idea of the time involvement, and also that we were a new client last year and are not this year. So anyway, that's a comment on the cost piece of it.
Well, I'm willing to put a motion on the floor to engage Maura Didi as our consultant to help with the evaluation process in accordance with the proposal presented. I was pretty happy with her last year, and so I'll make that motion and we'll see if we can get it on the floor and have a discussion if we need any more.
This is Marta. I had a chance to look at this proposal as part of the evaluation committee follow-up email, and I seconded that motion.
Okay, any questions or discussion?
I mean, I don't have a problem with her herself. It's I think it's just the overall process. Felt like last year we didn't have a lot of input in it, but
What more input do you want?
it would be nice to see more of the raw data behind the story, because once you get Mara's story, you know, it's kind of filtered that you're not really sure what's actually going on. So that's kind of my concerns, is that, again, we're not seeing the raw data.
Marisa, I'd like to clarify, in the description of work, sub-point number 4 is aggregate data from evaluation form. There is a way to, I'm guessing, anonymize and encourage candidate feedback. Are you saying you would like to favor raw data as opposed to aggregate data from evaluation form?
I'm not entirely sure what you're asking, the way you're framing it. But what I'm implying is I would at least like access to, you know, all the surveys, so we could read all the surveys for ourselves and read the individual responses. You know, obviously they wouldn't have identifying data, but that would be informative.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Okay. We have a motion and a second to engage more DD local librarian consulting to assist us with the library director's evaluation for a quoted cost of $3,000. You could raise your hand, all in favor. Opposed?
Right, sorry, I have a clarifying question. So then are we agreeing to this terms of only getting the aggregate data? I'm a little confused.
Yes.
That's what's proposal
Yes.
as presented.
Okay, then it's opposed.
4 in favor, 1 opposed, the motion passes. Okay. Policy. Policies.
Start with the circulation policy first. The last time the circulation policy was revised, it was in 2021. So this new revision says that patrons will need one form of ID to get a library card unless the address is different than what the ID is. Previously, all patrons are required to show one form of ID and one form of address. Another change is there will no longer be limits to the number of DVDs patrons can check out as part of the physical 60 items. And there will be a reinstatement of an interlibrary loan charge of $3 per request, but no limits on the amount of the request. And mobile hotspots will now check out for 21 days. Patrons can now check out 10 magazines at once. Cool. Homeschool providers are listed as eligible for an organizational. And the fee schedule also reflects those changes, as well as a sliding fee scale for lost or damaged books. Do you have any questions?
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Any questions, discussion?
Just a clarification question overall, super support. The $3 interlibrary loan fee, will that cover the entirety of the cost to us or just a portion?
Oh, just a portion.
Okay, thank you.
Small portion, actually, according to information. And, so. Okay.
It's really designed in some significant measure to just encourage people not to request. We've had people that request stuff and it comes and then they don't pick it up. But this is to try to keep people asking for what they really want.
So we have a motion and a second to, are we doing this one by one?
Yeah,
We are.
to
Okay.
approve the circulation policy.
Okay, approve the circulation policy. All in favor, raise your hand. Okay. Good to go on that one. Okay, display and exhibits policy.
Display and exhibits policy, significant change here is that the bulletin board policy was taken out of this part and is own separate policy now. And there are clarifications that more define what is a display and what is an exhibit. So that are the most significant changes, and there is a request for reconsideration form for anything that's on a display.
Move to approve.
This is Marta and I second.
and I do have a question. On the displays and exhibits policy, in the introduction, and I know one of the topics addressed in here was kind of defining a little bit more clearly, kind of what constituted a display or exhibit in terms of length of time that it might be. It felt like the language in here is pretty, I mean, I realize it doesn't need to box things in completely, but didn't feel like it was very clear in addressing that. And I mean, it says that the length of time may vary depending on the subject or type and will be determined by the supervisor. So what supervisor are we talking about?
Branch manager or department head.
And Vicki, I know it's specifically in the exhibit section, but in the exhibit section, it does say once the request is approved, installation removal dates will be chosen by library staff. So there's a little more date specific there, that we were trying to encapsulate and not be like, displays will be up for 3 weeks,
Right,
4 weeks,
right,
so,
yep.
yeah.
And at least it doesn't leave it indefinite, correct?
Yeah.
So when we were looking at it, we kind of thought that would take care of it. Shoot.
We have a suggestion, like, that was one of the things that when we were talking about is like, how do we say this without being
Right,
really
Too rigid,
time bound?
right. Right, yeah, and the term, I mean, for me, maybe just the term supervisor seemed very non-specific, so. I mean, in all cases, is it gonna be a branch manager, or is there some other supervisor that would approve displays or exhibits?
I'd actually err on the side of being less specific and just say that the time will be determined by staff. I mean, I think the important thing is to note that it's library staff who are making that determination.
And that they pick a date. I mean, that's where we got into trouble, was there wasn't an end date.
We're about to have a beautiful display on the book locker in Ashland.
Display on it, that's
The YMCA, I think, so,
That's
We're
not
gonna have
a
a wrap.
display.
okay, so, let me walk it back. There will be a design and a graphic design posted, wrapped around the book locker in Ashland. If that constitutes a display, then.
No.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
no,
If
I
it does,
understand.
if it
Just
does.
in case the legal counsel suggested could constitute a display and like language about library's assets to be included in here, just in case it makes sense. Because I'm thinking, what if we have more assets like that? Because does a QR code constitute a display? It is often used in lieu of flyers, so I guess I would just ask for additional consideration from our legal counsel,
Yeah.
whether or not that constitutes a display, and if it does, then something about book locker type installations being in the policy would protect the library.
Wouldn't this apply to patron originated displays rather than library originated displays?
It covers both. We actually talk about, in the policy, it talks about where people, where community members provide some of the objects that would be in the display, but library, I mean, it's,
So you have a point. I mean, if the wrap of the book locker were offensive to somebody, they would use this policy to address it. So
maybe what we need is more of a definition of what is a display
yeah.
rather than, and I would say that what's around the book locker isn't any more of a display than the wrap on the dart fan or the courier. I mean, it's a part of our facility and it's, you know, it's like the paint on the wall and the cartoon.
What about marketing materials?
They're not displays either.
Well, that's what I'm asking. What do you think?
That actually answers it. If that's not a concern for anybody else on the board, that answers it.
Well, and under introduction, it does kind of spell out, like, what displays and exhibits,
Exploration or educational, cultural.
what
I think that-
constitutes one.
It says in library buildings. So I will admit that what got my interest was in library buildings, and we're about to have a book locker. But if a wrap on it is simply decorative and does not constitute a display, then my question is irrelevant.
It's not in the library, I think so.
Okay.
Any other questions? We have a motion and a second. Anything else you needed to add or wanted to add? Okay. So all in favor? Okay. Okay. Bulletin board policy, which is a new policy.
Separated out of the other one.
Yes.
Page 82.
So the bulletin board policy is brand new. It used to be part of the exhibits and displays policy. And it's really found that it's really more of its own separate thing. Most of the items that are on bulletin boards are for a very, more limited time, and they tend to be just pieces of paper that so they're more time limited, but we did spell out quite a bit of what would be accepted and what would not be accepted, as well as size, which tends to be a problem. And specifically calling out that all items have to be approved before they are posted, or they have to have approval before posted.
I'll move approval of the bulletin board policy.
I'm happy to second. We have a motion and a second. I did have one quick question. Posting design for individual commercial profit or gain. I'm thinking I have seen things that probably would fall into that category, but are probably like people teaching piano lessons or something that might be of interest to patrons, but clearly would be a private enterprise kind of thing. So those kind of postings are not appropriate.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
They could say, contact me to find out more.
Where's the sentence here?
It's under bulletin boards, the second bullet point.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Any,
Just one comment. In the first one, because it talked about displays and exhibits, it talked about in library buildings. This one says at all library buildings, so I'm guessing we have some bulletin boards outside of libraries. No, okay.
I don't think so.
This could be an English as second language question, but
So
that's
we
why.
could-
I'm
Well,
thinking
we
of-
wordsmithed this a bunch in the committee, but we could change that to in if, I mean, that would be a significant.
Then it's not a concern.
My copy shows in and both.
Internet. Let's
Okay.
vote. Well, it's, there's motion on it.
yeah, we have a motion and a
sorry.
second. So
Let's do it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Policy approved. Child safety policy.
Child safety policy was formerly called unattended child policy. We felt that the child safety policy was better worded for what the policy was.
What are you doing?
In the policy, it does spell out kind of the levels of supervision that a child can be in. Per Oregon law, children under 10 should not be just left alone in the library. So that spells that out and kind of what to do or what the procedure is for an unattended child after library hours, after the hours of operation.
I'll move approval so we can get discussion.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any questions or discussion?
I still think we should send them home with a puppy. But this is probably better.
I think I mean, for me, it really raised an awareness of the responsibility that particularly people in the children's department feel about children that are left. And certainly as you get to the end of the business day, so it's
Free babysitting.
right, yeah. It's great. I think the policy is, I mean, it's clear and does spell things out more clearly, which is wonderful. So, okay, so we have a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. Policy approved. Holiday schedule. Bryn is still with
Hanging in
us.
there.
Thanks, Sophie.
Thanks, Jim. And you have a paper copy of the proposed 2025 holiday schedule.
Is this different in any significant way?
The days of the week are corrected to reflect the correct day of the week for the policy.
I mean, are the holidays
Unchanged from last year.
the same as they've been?
Yeah.
All right.
They are the same as last year. The only difference is I added staff day because we now know that it will be September 19th, which is a Friday. So that is included this time. I don't have to return at a later month.
I'll move approval.
This is Marta, I second.
Any
Question,
questions?
is staff day a mandatory event?
Yes.
Yes,
for
it
all
is.
of us? Okay, so is it a holiday then?
No, but it's a staff closure day. Excuse me, a closure to the public day, so traditionally we haven't really put it on the holiday list, you're right, so it should be
Right.
listed as an additional day the library is closed. So what we're trying,
Professional
Right,
yeah,
yeah.
what we're trying to capture here was all the days that were closed to the public. So, good point,
It definitely is a work day.
correct,
All staff.
not a holiday.
Good question.
And well, certainly, the days leading up to it are the opposite of a holiday for those organizing it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the 2025 holiday schedule. All in favor?
All right,
Got it. Approved. Okay, committee reports. Some of the committees we have dealt with.
Pretty much-
The majority of
Yeah,
those, I think the
Pretty much
policy
dealt with
committee,
everything committees.
the finance committee, facilities committee, I mean, I think from facilities, there was discussion about the pollinator garden, and the RFP for that will go out in January 2025, so that is upcoming.
so that's the very last page of your report is the minutes from that meeting.
They're still right, I kind of wrote it, I know, just so I could keep track of them. And I guess I would say from the personnel committee, the personnel committee did meet with Carrie in person, Martha, and Carrie, so we had discussion about the evaluation process and in the beginning of the conversation about goals, so. And we are scheduled to meet again on December 11th, I believe.
Right, but the executive session scheduling me,
That's true. That's true.
so I wouldn't put that on the calendar this year.
So, good on committees? Okay.